Welcome to People's Voice on VOP TV, where citizen stories shape the narrative. Today, we are dissecting two major stories that are dominating the headlines and sparking conversations across the nation. Nigerians will decide 2027 presidency, not APC or PDP, says Atiku. And the second headline, PDP explains why Wike has not faced sanction. Okay? Join the conversation with expert insight and citizens' perspective. Share your thoughts with us. I am Savior Udo. Welcome to the program. Quickly, let's take other news stories with details. The chairman of the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission has advised aggrieved parties to seek redress in court over the recent local government election in the state. Okay? If you feel you're not okay with the outcome of the election that was conducted on Saturday, let's go to court. Okay? Moving on, no vacancy for deputy governor's seats. The Benue State Governor, Reverend Father Asiant, earlier has declared that there is no vacancy for the deputy governor's seat in 2027, dismissing speculations that he plans to replace his deputy governor, Sam Ode. Earlier praised Ode as capable, people-oriented, and cerebral, stating that he enjoys working with him and values their personal relationship. Abuja-Kaduna rail tracks to be restored in 10 days. Wow. Okay, the Nigerian government says that the damaged Abuja-Kaduna rail track will be restored within 10 days after a recent train derailment. Repairs, works, everything underway, and 4 out of the 8 coaches have been moved from site. Please, I want you to know that as soon as you give Nigerians a specific date or a particular time frame, we're actually counting. That is all I have to say about that. All right, moving on. Reno Omokri slams Peter Obi. Former presidential aide Reno Omokri has criticized Peter Obi for his silence on Simon Ekpa's conviction for terrorism-related crimes. Omokri accused Obi of double standards, citing Obi's past demands for the arrest of musician K1 The Ultimate. And away from that, El-Rufai lacks understanding of democracy, says Shehu Sani. The former Senator Shehu Sani has accused ex-Kaduna Governor Nasir El-Rufai of lacking a true understanding of democracy. Sani said El-Rufai didn't participate in the struggle to restore democracy in Nigeria, unlike himself, who was imprisoned and persecuted for fighting for democracy. Okay? And moving on, Niger State Governor dissolves cabinet. The Governor of Niger State, Muhammad Umar Bago, has dissolved his cabinet effective immediately. The decision was announced during the State Executive Council meeting at the Government House in Mina. While the commissioners were let go, the Secretary to the State Government, Chief of Staff, the Deputy Chief of Staff, among other principal officers, have been reinstated. The Governor expressed his appreciation for the services rendered by the dissolved commissioners and wished them well in their future endeavors. To join the conversation, kindly call the number 090-447-32605, 090-447-32605. Follow us on social media at VOP TV Live. You can use the hashtag People's Voice on VOP TV. On YouTube, we are Voice of the People TV. Kindly hit the subscribe button, and together we can make our voice heard. It is time for us to go on a quick break. As soon as we come back, we would actually look into the first headline. Nigeria will decide 2027 presidency, not APC or PDP. You don't go nowhere. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back to the program. Yes, it is People's Voice on VOP TV. All right, let's go straight to the first headline. The former Vice President Atiku Abubakar believes Nigerians believes Nigerians, not the APC or PDP, will determine the outcome of the 2027 presidential election. Atiku's media advisor, Mazi Paul Ibe, stated that the coalition being built in people-driven, attracting support from stakeholders and civil society groups. Atiku emphasizes the importance of Nigerians in deciding the 2027 presidency rather than the APC or PDP. The coalition is gaining momentum, with thousands of PDP stakeholders defecting to the African Democratic Congress, ADC, in Lagos. Ibe maintains that the will of Nigerians will be decisive in the 2027 presidential election, rather than the dominance of APC or PDP. We're now being joined by Mr. Ubong Thompson, journalist and public affairs analyst. You're welcome, sir, to the program.
Thank you very much.
How's it been?
Very good indeed.
It's always good to have you.
Thank you.
All right, quickly, before I take some other questions, I just want to start with this particular word. If the former vice president can actually use the word, he said, and I quote, "Let Nigerians decide, or Nigerians will decide the presidency in 2027, not the APC and not the PDP." And this statement is coming from someone who has actually been in the same party, in these parties. He has defected to APC, he moved back to PDP. And as at the time he was in PDP, he believed PDP would decide. When he was in APC, he believed APC would decide. So all of a sudden, the same two parties you said can decide before now, okay, prior to this particular time, all of a sudden, those parties do not deserve to decide the presidency. Now, you are saying, let Nigerians decide. And it's not like you're giving it to Nigerians to decide. You're actually saying that Nigerians that are in ADC, right, will decide. What's your take on this particular statement?
Well, without being biased, with the statement that the former vice president of Nigeria, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, did said, would not be taken is not going to be taken in a subtle manner, in the sense that he has been in political environment for quite a number of time, and he has spanned through all the the political turmoil, if I may say so, and we cannot take whatever he said for granted. But the question is, will Nigerians be given the opportunity to decide? That should be the fundamental question we should ask Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. What are the preparations he has been able to put in place? How has he been able to engage the federal government or the Independent National Electoral Commission to make sure that they provide enabling ground for Nigerians to decide? This has been one of the challenges that Nigerians have been facing, over ages now. You will quite understand the background of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar since his retirement from the Nigerian Navy and into politics. And he was a strong member of, was it PDM? There was a political movement in the north central region of Nigeria in which he was a very strong member of that, movement. And this happened even before the election that came on board with the Alhaji MKO Abiola against Tofa. And he had vied for presidency as at then. And when he couldn't win, and the subsequent, truncation of democracy by military head of state, Abacha, and then in 1999, he won as a governor of Nasarawa State.
But of course, they had to take him and ask him to.
Obasanjo came on board because of his influence in the northern politics. So Obasanjo had to, take him as a vice. And then he was very strong politician as at then, and so many people believe in him. But afterwards, in the advent of 99, the Fourth Republic, that he contested along with Obasanjo and won. And you had a situation where most of the government responsibilities, because Obasanjo as at then took much of half of his, his days in office traveling for diplomatic mission abroad. It was Alhaji Atiku Abubakar that eventually was on ground to run the government. And you find out a situation where almost all the state governors then were loyal to him, in fact, to the detriment of the president. Not until when the president realized this, that it was even too late. You can see, how Alhaji Atiku Abubakar was able to give the president a tough time, to the extent that, he had to contest, under a different, he come to AC as at then. And from the ACN, he was given a ticket for, to vie for presidency. And he lost. And then afterwards, you've seen him decamping to APC, moving back to PDP. So now he's out. Nigerians would have taken him more serious if he had been able to know that Nigerians value reputations, value, someone that is consistent. And as at now, I think things would have been so difficult for him, to become the president of Nigeria. But if only he has been able to, show that integrity or reputation in let Nigerians understand what he believes in.
Okay, so
for him to have said, Nigeria will decide what has been, the structures put in place previously when he was in power, to see that Nigerian electoral system are transparent,
seamless and transparent. Okay,
so these are the questions.
Coming in from what you just said, okay, we understand that the former vice president has actually decamped from here to there, back to here, and all of that. Now, I want to ask you a question, and I want to do this simultaneously. For the statement he said, Nigerians will decide, or let Nigerians decide, whichever ways we want to turn the question, or we want to turn that word. Is he really saying it for the interest of Nigerians, or is saying Nigerians should decide because he wants them to decide to pick him? That's one. Secondly, my second question to you, with the track records of defecting, decamping, moving here and there, joining coalitions and all of that, does it still pose a threat? Is it still someone that carries weight in the political system in Nigeria? Because I understand that some people respect him, no doubt, okay? But when it comes to someone who poses a threat, someone that when you mention his name, it carries this fear against his opposition, does the name Atiku, okay, sound like one that someone should actually be bothered about?
Well, from all indications, as we speak, you cannot underrate or undermine the influence of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, irrespective of not being, consistent in his process of seeking for, the presidency of Nigeria. But that doesn't still, make you to feel he's not relevant in the system. He's been relevant because I just mentioned to you when he was the vice president of Nigeria, he has built enormous goodwill for himself, among all the governors. And for those, he impacted positively, they are still on ground today to say, okay, we are loyal to Atiku Abubakar anytime, any day.
Someone like Tambuwa of Sokoto.
Yeah, you see how Tambuwa, had to, relegate his vote in the primaries instead of giving the votes to Wike, he has to, reaffirm his support
I can't forget that
for Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. So
yes.
These are the issues that we are having. Then the question that you are asking, no one can undermine the influence of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar and the influence of the North in the political, atmosphere of today. And what will also play a major factor is the fact that there's growing concern all around the country, issue of insecurity in the land, issue of hunger, unemployment, and power, failure of lack of power for industries to blossom, and many other factors. We just have a situation where ASU were given the ultimatum to embark on strike. So these are little things that I know the APC government are supposed to put in place in order to give, or not to give room to Nigerians to want to defer to another political party or vote another candidate. So we are having a situation where he says Nigeria will decide, because the Nigerians of today has a need. Every Nigerian today has a need, and they are looking for who can meet their needs for them. You understand? So if Alhaji Atiku Abubakar feels he can meet that needs, but I've been saying this is a 78 years old man, and we've been having issues with Nigerians leaders that are, older.
I was almost going
we
there.
We had issues with Alhaji Muhammad Buhari.
No, I was almost going there.
We also have the issue of the present president.
Because the last time we ever had
is not on their side.
The last time we ever had a young head of state was Gowon. Okay? And afterwards, I think every other person that has actually been, gracing that particular seat, they've not been young. I stand to be corrected.
That is it.
Okay. So in a situation that you are talking about the track records of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and in trying to step in now to say, okay, he wants to see how he can use his wealth of knowledge to tackle insecurity in the land and also to fix hunger. Okay, what is the basis of Atiku's confidence in the coalition he is building?
Well, the coalition, just like Malam El-Rufai did mention, I think that was a true statement, that he made, that the coalition should be given time to actually stabilize or structure themselves from the grassroots, build a coalition party, and then, see how the structure can, transparently, are working to be able to, stand an election against an incumbent government. I think the coalition, if for selfish reason, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar wants to couch everybody in the coalition and go for an election, I think it will amount to nothing at the end of the day. So rather, I would have want him to build a coalition that maybe in the nearest future can come up with a presidential candidate that will be able to run an election and win an election in Nigeria. Because we are talking about, credibility here. Nigerians has awakened in so much, numbers that we are looking at an antecedent of every political candidate that wants to come on board. What can he deliver? What does he has on the table? And when he talks about Nigerians being the ones to decide, I think Nigerians having learned a lot from, the PDP era and the APC era, we should be able to come up and then decide who actually should rule Nigeria, who should be at the leadership affair of Nigeria. What are the modalities? What are the qualifications? What are the attributes of such a leader? Number one, corruption has been a very, very major challenge that most political leaders has in Nigeria. And this has been the problem, number one problem Nigeria as a nation is having today. So once you bring on board any candidate or any person with less corruption track record, then the better for Nigerians and the better for Nigerians to decide
Okay, quickly, I would like to come in there. Now, in this coalition that we're talking about, I believe Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is really, really confident about the coalition, and he believes they would produce something even more efficient and better, okay, than the ruling party. So they said. Okay. Now, I believe they also have an internal issue. I read in the news, which we discussed sometime last week, where the former minister and also a former River State governor, Rotimi Amechi, stating that he would not step down for anybody. Let the people decide in their own primaries. So, do you think that the coalition is also sitting on a gunpowder? Do you think the coalition would see would see the day, you know, the light of the day, yes, before 2027? Because with the way everything is going in the coalition, they look like, you know, calling people that are all desperate to be presidents. Okay, and for everyone coming together, aside from El-Rufai, who has stated that he is not running for any political party, but for every other person, you know, coming together to form that particular coalition, they are coming in for one or two positions in that particular place. So do you think that that particular coalition would survive with what is going on amongst them?
You see why, one major reason why I'm calling Alhaji Atiku Abubakar to, you know, see the coalition as an avenue for him to build a viable opposition political party. And for him to do that, all the political actors in these coalitions are supposed to shed their swords.
Their swords, yeah.
And then see how to, first of all, there are seasons of building parties, you know, with the way and manner they hurriedly form this coalition, and the coalition members, top members of these coalitions, has interests of, you know, vying for the highest office in the land. And this is not going to put them in a, you know, in a good light at the end of the day, because there's going to be a lot of infighting, and there is no how they can fight, you know, within themselves and expect to create an impact in any election. So we shouldn't expect much, except and only if they understand this fact and then decide to, you know, unite, harmonize their differences, and then see how they can come up with credible candidates that Nigerians can, okay, say, yes, this is what we want, and then go for it. Otherwise, it will just be an exercise in futility.
Okay, so how does the Atiku stance differ from the traditional dominance of APC and PDP in Nigerian politics?
Well, you know, you cannot separate Atiku from the normal APC politician or PDP politician, because, you know, he carried the same blood in him. He's still the same person.
But the man is coming out to say it's different now, or, you know, he's trying to save us.
Changed, you know, for a 78-year-old person to change, and it takes the gods. It takes gods, actually, you know, for that to happen. But having seen them through all these decades of politics of, you know, selfishness that they play in Nigeria, it will be very hard for Alhaji Atiku Abubakar to separate himself from the politics of APC and that of PDP, because this thing runs in their blood, it runs in their veins. You know, the same approach that they want to give, they have been given to APC and that of PDP, is what they will still use and want to buy off, you know, the what do they call them? Buy off those that will be going to, you know, vote for, to bring out delegates. You know, you see money changing hands during the delegate election. And these are the problem, you know, that we have in Nigeria. So I believe he's supposed to, having learned about the challenges Nigeria is having in election matters, he's supposed to sit down as an elder statesman to come out with modalities to resolve these issues, ranging from, you know, the thuggery, snatching of ballot boxes, the participation of the military and the Nigerian police force in politics, supporting whosoever is in quote in the helps of affairs, and the same thing to INEC. This should be what the fight should be directed at. Atiku should lead a coalition to make sure that they talk to the authority, to see how they can carry out reforms, scientific or technology reforms in INEC as we speak, such that it shouldn't be an INEC, the chairman that decides who wins an election at the expense of all Nigerians that might have come out from nooks and crannies of their, state to go and vote for their representative or their preferred candidate. But you find out that at the end of all this exercise, it's only the INEC chairman that will decide who votes. And then if peradventure you are not satisfied with that, the INEC chairman will also refer you to go to court. And when you get to court, you cannot find justice with the judiciary system we have in Nigeria today. So judiciary should be reformed. INEC should be reformed in such a manner that the Nigerian interest should be paramount, not the interest of whosoever appointed you as INEC chairman or who appointed you as the president of the appeal court or the Supreme Court.
If you're talking about the reform, which is quite valid at this point in time in this nation, but I want to take you in for your conversation. You said something. You said that in primaries, sometimes they get to share money or whatever just to buy delegates on their side. I remember vividly the PDP primaries, which happened in Abuja. I happened to be around as at the time there. I am not saying this for just the facts, but I actually saw one or two delegates as at the time stating and showing receipts, as I would call it, of dollar bill, $100 to $200 bill, that was shared to them as delegates to actually decide and vote for a particular candidate, which I'm not going to mention name. Now, this being said, when you mentioned the reform from the judicial system, you talked about the electoral reform, which is good for them to uphold fairness, justice and equity and transparency, no problem.
Let me come in on that instance before you landed with your question.
Okay.
The issue of sharing of, dollar bills during the delegate election.
Yeah.
I think if the Nigerian government truly wants to take up that challenge, it's very possible.
Of course.
They can work with the, with the Nigerian, the director of the DSS, to monitor these elections.
Okay. Now, in a situation where, I wouldn't want to go straight to the law enforcement yet. Now, let me finish up my question. So, in a situation like this, that you have a track record of how things are being done, their modus operandi, how they get voters to their side, is this the electoral body's problem? Is this the judicial body's problem? Because before the vote even gets to INEC, before the case gets to court, some deed has been done. Aside from primaries, even when the primaries is over, now it is the general election. You see all manner of bills flying everywhere. They even call it canvassing people. There are this set of people that they say they just go to canvass people. Okay, they do door-to-door canvassing. So they do canvassing and they just tell you where's your PVC. You flash a PVC. They tell you this is who you have to vote. This is it, and all of that. Now, in a situation where this is actually in play in Nigerian politics, would you still want to attribute the fault to the Electoral Commission and the judicial system? Or we need to talk to these particular men who, in one way or the other, seem desperate to actually be in power at all costs. And don't also forget, before you take your answer and give me your submission, don't also forget that in 2022/2023, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar said, and I quote, that if he doesn't win that particular election, that he was not going to come out again. Did you remember something like that? He said he was not contesting again. But all of a sudden, after that particular election, here he is again, forming a coalition group, and is about to come out again. So what would you have to say about that?
Well, it's subject to the Nigerian financial system reforms, and also the security. It boils down to the security agencies, and also need the participation of the electoral body to come up with a law that will stabilize or the structure the delegates that goes to vote for their presidential candidate in each of the political parties, such that this delegate has to go through enough screening before, during, and after the delegate election. And their financial status has to be tracked, even with that of their, their relatives. It might sound very difficult, but these are measures that the country need to carry out to make sure that they get the country ripped out of these corrupt-minded individuals and stop this issue of, having to say money change hands because these are where the real problem begins. When the process of selection is wrong, the outcome generally will be wrong. When it is money that is being used to influence a particular people in order for a particular candidate to get into office, probably once the person gets into office, number one key thing will be how to recover back his money. So the people that he is talking about to decide should decide and say, no, we can no longer mortgage the future of our children, grandchildren, and generation yet unborn in the platter of $1,000 or $50,000 given to them. And for the entire 4 years, 8 years, you find suffering, people suffering on the land because of them having accepted to collect whatsoever they are not supposed to collect. So the system has to be put in place by the government of the federation and the election governing body to structure those delegates. If they want to have a permanent delegate list, let them have it and track these delegates anytime, any day. They have to declare their assets. It might be a rigorous process, but what is worth doing well is worth doing well. So far, it will give us, a very good outcome at the end of the day. So this process can be put in place. And this is the time Nigeria has to start reforming, because Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, just like I said, have gone through several elections.
Yeah.
And he has faced the challenges. He has known what are the challenges that the electoral body and Nigerians are facing. So it is time to come up with recommendations, suggestions on how to resolve this issue. We cannot decide to continue in a particular, approach and want to have a different result. You are going to, and you want to go to the Lagos Island, for instance, and you are running, instead of you moving through Third Mainland Bridge or the Ikorodu Road, you are moving through Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. You are heading to nowhere. You are not going to get
maybe the person
destination
wants to go
in any way. So as long as Nigerian, electoral body and the Nigerian government still approach election with lofty hands or with levity, we are not going to get anywhere. So drastic measures, structures, meaningful structures has to be put in place. Realistic structures, laws that will give death penalty to defaulters has to come in place
when
for us to see, because this is the structure of what becomes of the country in the next 4 years or aftermath of the election.
But when you use the word death penalty, you are trying to give us a nostalgia about the Republic of China. I believe it is only in China that they tell you if their politicians is found corrupt, it is death by hanging, right?
Yeah.
But don't think that that kind of a thing would happen in Nigeria. The same people who you expect to actually enact such law would not even make it stand.
But it takes sacrifice and determination of great minds to take come think and also carry out reforms in a country. If we continue the way Nigeria has been in 2023 election, then if the same thing continues, we're not going to get anything different. The result will still be the same. So we should not accept, and I believe this is the pressing need that the coalitions are supposed to approach with serious-mindedness.
Okay, sir. So I want to
the process. The process matters a lot.
Okay, so talking about the process now, let me get your prediction towards the process for the coalition's primaries first, and afterwards you give me a prediction about every other party's candidate as we speak. But first, for the coalition, the ADC, what do you think the final prediction would be? What do you think the final result would be? Who would emerge as their major candidacy?
Well, from the, El-Rufai came out to speak yesterday, and he is one of the key person that formed the coalition, and his nation, the tone he was having that yesterday when he spoke geared towards a particular manifestation of the coalition primaries outcome, and it still points toward Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, except and only if Alhaji Atiku Abubakar relinquish his interest to contest this election. That is when you can find something different coming on board in the ADC party. We can now have a fresh candidate. And, I want to tell the politicians, Nigerian politicians, to, for once, think about the future of this country. Nigeria, with them or without them, will still, can still do better. And they should understand, life is transient. We are not going to live on this earth forever. Yeah. So what is worth doing should be done. It takes sacrifice to say, okay, I wanted to vie for the presidency of this country, but looking at the electoral reforms and the state of the nation, I want to step down to see that Nigeria has a better political system. Let's reforms. Let my party reforms. Let us practice true democracy within the party and see if Nigerians would not notice this and then say, okay, this is the party that we can vote for or remain loyal to.
Okay, sir. So now to the final prediction. We have presently, we have the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We have Peter Obi of the Labour Party. We have the coalition man, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. And we have the PDP who are yet to give us their main person, okay, amongst others. What are your predictions for 2027?
Well, the prediction, as we speak, as we stand, if every criteria, all the structures of giving us a free and fair election remains the way it remains as of today, we shouldn't be thinking about any shock in the system. The system will still be the same. The outcome will still be the same.
The outcome of 2023 will still be the same.
Very sure.
All right, let us just stay on that particular one. He said, not me, that the outcome of 2023 will still be the same. Let's just go on this quick break. As soon as we return, we'll talk about PDP. PDP actually explain why Wike hasn't faced sanction. You don't go nowhere. Stay tuned, please. All right, welcome back to the program. It is still People's Voice on VOP TV. The People's Democratic Party, PDP, has clarified why Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Nyesom Wike, hasn't faced disciplinary action despite allegations of anti-party activities. According to PDP, a formal petition supported by evidence is required before any action can be taken against a member. PDP Deputy National Legal Advisor Okechukwu Ozua stated that the party's disciplinary committee headed by Chief Tom Ikeme can only act on formal petition with supporting evidence. It is not enough to make general allegations. A formal petition must be submitted and the petitioner must be willing to testify and provide evidence, Ozua explained. And amidst of all of these, the PDP has faced criticism not taking action against Wike, who has committed what they said that they've not seen as evidence. Okay, that's the Wike has actually done his anti-party back and forth, and we can actually see it. Yet, Ozua emphasized that the party's hands are tied without any formal petition. Okay, and while all of this is still going on, the PDP tried reaching out to Wike and the other aggrieved members, but Wike, Otom, Fayoshe, and Ikweazu Ogwain, okay, they all had their meeting yesterday in Abuja, and they gave the PDP National Working Committee a 6 points of demand. First, how can you allow someone who is practicing anti-party to still give you demand, yet it's looking as if your hands are tied because you want someone to come out with evidences, okay, or to testify about him? What are your thoughts about this particular one? Is it like Wike is bigger than PDP? Is Wike that big that nobody, I mean nobody, can actually either expel him out of the party or sanction him? Is Wike above the law? Or is he above the constitution that guides the People's Democratic Party?
You see, one would have thought the issues, you know, the challenges bothering the People's Democratic Party, you know, has come to an end, you know, when the 9 state governors and other stakeholders had their meeting and come up with a date for their national convention. But the fact remains that the situation in the party is very much well known to the party leadership, particularly in the person of Seyi Makinde.
Okay.
He was one of the G5 governors and a very close ally to Wike. And if for one reason or the other, you know, he has come onward to see how he can restructure the party and, you know, build the party to be able to stand and gain the confidence of Nigerians. But the fact still remains that he's also sympathetic to the political future of his senior brother, Alhaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu. At the same time.
Now you call him his senior brother?
So, yes, so because if you ask Governor Makinde, for instance, to come out and vie for the PDP, you know, ticket, he would tell you no. He wouldn't show up because he does not want to be seen as he wants to, you know, divide the vote or the interest of the Southwest where he hails from. So you see, there's a lot of underlying, you know, issues bedeviling the People's Democratic Party that it will take a long time for them to resolve. You know, there are so many internal issues, and you have the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, on the other hand, making sure that, you know, it's like you know, the sharks in the deep blue sea, if I may say, you know, troubling the PDP in all angles. You know, in any little attempt that the PDP wants to make a progress, Wike is there to make sure he cuts them down to the side, to their sizes. And what you see playing out today will make it very difficult for PDP to genuinely, come on board once again, after, as a political party that can gain the confidence of Nigeria. So the aspect of discipline or sanction that should be meted to Wike, the hands of the stakeholders of PDP are all tied because they are not decisive, neither in their action, whether, to support President Tinubu or work against him.
Work against him.
In my own feeling,
okay,
in all submission I can give, I can see majority of them, opting for the president, President Bola Tinubu, to return and retain his office. So it will be difficult for this set of people to want to sanction, Governor Wike, FCT Minister Wike, because they know the impact, they know the influence, they know the ruggedness of FCT Minister, and he has threatened in several occasions that anybody, he said it quite well, he will support anybody that is supporting, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In the other way around, he will go against anybody that goes against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So if the PDP chieftains are ready to go on the battlefield, they can sanction him or discipline him, because I do not see any reason why they should not sanction, even the child of 10 years or 7 years knows the anti-party activities of Wike of recent and in the past.
Okay, so what are the implications of PDP's requirements for a formal petition and evidence in disciplinary cases? Because the reason why I'm asking you this question is this. It is quite obvious enough that Wike is still in PDP, but the anti-party is alarming. How can you say coast cleared? Now the governor would return at the just concluded polls for the local government, right? Now, it said this statement, you are not bothered about 20 other local governments that the People's Democratic Party lost. You were excited that your 3 local governments that your own loyalists were, representing won. But you're not bothered about the 20 other ones. That being said, you're making such statements, just like what you said. For Wike to make such statements as, if you don't support President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, this would happen. Do you understand? Now, in a situation like this, he has given you several reasons, different reasons, and he has shown it. It is evidential that he is running anti-party. Should we say that PDP is weak? Should we also say PDP is at the mercy of Wike? Wike mentioned some statements a few years ago, which every time he grants the media parley, I think he does that once every month. One way or the other, he gets to chip it in that as at the time they all left PDP, he stood, he used his personal money to retain the party, to build the party. So I want to ask, are they not just weak? Because, of course, I've asked if they are weak. Are they scared, or is it Wike that is bankrolling almost all of these guys? I only know of that of Tambuwa of Sokoto back then when the market in Sokoto caught fire and Wike donated, I think, ₦1 billion to support from his personal money, just like he would always say his personal money. So is PDP that weak that they cannot just take out one man? Whenever they are trying to make progress, this one man will give them a setback. Whenever they are trying to make progress, this man will give them retrogressions. And instead for them to move forward, PDP is already becoming the shadow of itself.
That goes to show that, PDP is Wike and Wike is PDP. Because you cannot in any way, separate the two of them. You just rightly said, at the point in time where Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, the former Senate President, Saraki and co. left the party, it was Wike that funded the party, restructured the party, and then sustained the party up till now.
Okay, so because of our time.
Yeah, that reason is enough for all the political part, to all the stakeholders of PDP not to even sanction Wike.
Okay, so thank you so much, Mr. Obong Thompson. I would never forget your statement. You said Wike is PDP and PDP is Wike, and that's how we actually leave the show at this particular moment. Don't forget, it is People's Voice on VOP TV. Till I come your way again next time, my name remains Savior Udo. Thank you so much for being part of the show today. Don't give up because it is not over. Tough time doesn't last, but tough people do last. Whatsoever you're going through will soon be over, and you will definitely smile again. Have a good evening rest. Thank you.